If you're a designer, you probably have to deal with deadlines, I'm thinking, every once in a while. So it's good to know the time frame about when you need to drop a job off to get it done. And we've got Michael here to just talk about the printing process and the time frames around that. And obviously it depends what you're having printed, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a lot to do with it.
Yes, a lot of people do ask me, when can I have this? I said, what's the quantity?
Yeah, well, that's the first quick question, huh?
And what are we printing? So, for Foote printing, it's a basic process. Normally, you're calling or emailing, we're sending you a price. You look at the price, you okay it with whoever you need to, or you see it and it's good compared to whatever price you have, and then you want to move forward. So once you want to move forward, you write back to us, you say, okay, I'd like this quantity. If I've quoted multiple quantities, you send the PDF art, high res with bleeds, and then we go from there creating the piece. So for smaller digital projects, those usually take about 2 days. If you really need them in the same day or very quickly, we can usually get to them unless we have some bigger projects already taking their time on both of those presses. Also with the digital, as soon as it comes out, it's dry, it's ready, we can cut it right away.
Yeah.
We can fold it right away. So even if it's a smaller booklet, 1 to 2 days is usually what we go for there, unless we're super busy. So then for offset, we usually are around 3 to 4 days. And that could be less depending on what it is too. If it's a smaller quantity, depending on what kind of bindery. If it's a folding piece and it's under 10,000, that still could only be like a 2 to 3 day job.
And that, to be specific, that's after I deliver you the PDF?
That's after you okay the PDF that I send back to you after we've ripped the file.
Gotcha.
Because then we're making the plates, we're putting the plates on press, we're inking up to color, which takes about an hour or less. We're printing the actual sheets. We're letting them dry overnight before we can start cutting them, unless it's like a blue that takes a couple days. And then we're cutting it, and then we're doing the bindery. So if it's a postcard, you're looking 3 to 4 days. If it's a folding job, you're looking at about the same. If it's a booklet job, maybe tack on another day, especially if you're over like 5,000 for the booklets. Okay. Then we have a print and mailing project. Those usually take a little bit longer. For that, I would say more of about 7 to 10 working business days.
Right.
Because you have all the print processes that I just mentioned on top of that, processing the list, printing the information on the printed products, sorting them, and getting them to the post office. Now, even if I do tell you, let's say I got 10,000, 12 pager, I need to send it out to the whole city of X. So the process for us would probably take about 7 to 10 working days from okayed art to print delivered to the post office. But the post office being what it is, depending on what needs to be processed and happen once it gets to the post office, they legally usually, once they receive it, have 14 days to deliver it.
Oh, really?
For standard mail,
Wow.
which sounds like a lot.
Oh my gosh.
And usually they're a lot less than that. But for the ones at least that we're doing that are walk sequence or every door direct mail, like people say, usually those will go out in the next 2 to 3 days once they're dropped off. For first class, it's almost always within 3 days once it's dropped off at the post office till it hits the people's doorsteps. And then for standard mail, you're looking at usually 4 to 7 days, usually, because legally they have 14 days, but that's usually doesn't happen.
I had no idea they had legal 14 days. That explains a lot for me. Well, I'm getting some things when I do. Hey, there was something else you mentioned sort of interesting. It takes blue ink a little longer to dry?
It does. It definitely does. And you know what? I was just talking about this with a potential new client the other day when they came in for a meeting, and he kind of looked funny when I said that. And he does murals all the time, and he said, "Yeah, I noticed the same when I'm using blue."
No kidding.
And then the other guy that was there with him had mentioned that, back in the day in antiquity and stuff like that, if you see a painting from that time with actual blue ink in it, that must have been like a very important higher end painting.
No kidding.
Because the blue dyes and all that were harder to get and harder to print. So it's like all these things start to come together more about why
that is really
this
something.
blue is such a pain, or
I think that needs to be a future video. You can do that. Like,
Maybe.
why does blue take longer? And maybe the history. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
Like, that's great. So
it's
I always learn stuff from this guy. Usually about printing, but now you've found old art and the old days and blue ink and blue paint and everything's kind of neat. Hey, if you're not already there, visit the website, Foote Printing. That's footewithaknee.com. They've got some other videos like this, and you can see some examples of what these guys can do for you if you need them. So thanks a lot, Michael.
Thank you.